I want to talk a little bit about the Kundalini energy. So I have been living with this active Kundalini energy for over 20 years. And for me, I know for sure it was destined to awaken within my, gross subtle body, which was very conditioned, and also where I had a lot of suppressed energy, and I also carried a heavy role which was entangled to so many things in society. So it was not the easy fix to get rid of this role or to drop that role and lose it bit by bit and awaken as something underneath this role. It's not an easy fix, and it's not something that you can do actually with your mind. But of course you can take a lot of choices on this path to make things easier and to remove yourself from things in ordinary life, and everyone has free will, so we can make a lot of choices and we can make things, the path, a little more favorable to walk. And then I mean favorable for the spirit and for the true path that we are on. And that I was very good to do that, and I rejected like medicine and all that what offered to me on an early stage from the society. So I was a kind of a rebel, but I also had this role where I adjusted a lot as well. So it was a little side by side. But luckily I was that rebel that made me suffer instead of taking medicine, and also choosing my own company instead of just faking my way in the society. So, and luckily I also am a very creative person. I have a very creative energy which manifested through me, so I could start to paint and write and do a lot of creative work from the very beginning. And that was a little bit my shell in a way, because I was becoming this artist. And I used to be a nurse, or I was in nurse education and just starting up as a nurse when I got this Kundalini awakening. So I was able to make it work alongside the Kundalini, doing my life very, very hard. And that was because everything turned gray in the beginning. And all of these conditionings was so pushed up to the surface. So it created this chaotic mind and so many difficult emotions, which was impossible to digest. And it was also impossible to talk about, because people would not at all understand what I was experiencing. And people are listening through their own perceptions and what they are capable of receiving. So it's very easy that the helper types and many people with authority, they will take ownership of everything and also believe that they are seeing the situation right. So that also became an issue for me, because they clearly wasn't seeing it right. And so I had to go from person to person inside the treatment facilities. But very early on, I began to experience the benefits where the light or the causal body's energy was shining through and beginning to like shower inside, creating pathways with clear light and clear, like a magical drops of youth and peace, and also extreme clarity. So those were so beautiful to experience. And I remember from early on, just a drop of this juice would make me feel so satisfied and so good within myself and my life. And it would last for many days, even though it was really chaotic life, because I was not able to work or to do the things I wanted to do and plan my life, or everything was turned upside down. And I also began to experience moments where all the stored images and memory and all the perceptions, and when you look out on life, on things, and your head is telling you what everything is, and you are so used to this conversation and these messages that you never even think about if it's right. So just an example, if you look at the sky, you just look at the sky and the clouds and the weather, and sometimes it's beautiful sunset, but when you don't have any preferences anymore, then everything becomes extremely magical, and it's not a sky anymore. It's something so wondrous and so interesting and so almost mind-blowing. So I began to experience like that to everyday things, like I have never seen it before, and that everything was so interesting. And I couldn't even understand how I was able to experience the things. For example, just watching my own hand or foot, that could just give me this rush of being totally in awe and wondering about what this is. And just just like a little child, 6 months old, and is just looking at his hands and putting it into his or her mouth and tasting everywhere. It's like that, but at the same time, it's not, because you don't have learned, in a way, your intellect, it's not functioning. Because your intellect is functioning, but it's not the identification with the role or the person, the individual who is working through the intellect. It's your spirit. And even more, it's your true self. The God self is working through the mind. And then everything shifts. And you see the same things, but it just becomes so vibrant, brighting, magical, amazing, and wonderful, peaceful. And at the same time, there's no mind to say that is so. There's no mind who are deciding that this is interesting. It's just that the mind is not at work in that way. It's more that when I am describing it afterwards, I can use those words. But within the situation, if you begin to think that this is magical, then you are out of this. Then you are in your conditioning again. and the magical moment are lost. So that's how it started, this awakened Kundalini in my life. I have been through so much, and I'm so happy that I have finally begun to share. So I will close it off, and I will be back again very soon. But I just want to add that I have actually written a book called Shakti, which is on Amazon. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye.